Okay, so Bill, an alumnus of Ball State, 82, I believe.
82 is, can you guys hear me okay? Okay, yes.
At least 100 years ago.
I'd like to say that I sat in your shoes, but this building wasn't here when I was here.
It wasn't here when I was here.
Yeah.
So Bill comes to us from Duramark, and I'm going to turn you loose a little bit. So the first question is, can you just share your entrepreneurial story? What inspired you to start a business? How'd you get there?
Sure. So I was not a right out of college entrepreneur, I'll tell you that. So my dad was a General Electric lifer. He ran the small motor division for GE for Jack Welch. And so my dad was my hero, my role model. So what was I going to do? I was going to find a big company and climb the corporate ladder, and that's what I thought was the way to go. And so that's what I did. I kind of accidentally got into the printing business, which is what I'm in now and have been for the last 40 years. But it was with a big company, okay? And I started as a sales guy and rose up through the management ranks to run the sales organization for a billion-dollar company with 700 sales reps, and it was great. But what I learned after 22-ish years with that company was the higher up the chain I got, the less fun I was having. Frankly, it was a lot of just meetings and listening to people pontificate, and they love to hear themselves talk in meetings and board meetings, and so I kind of had in my mid-40s felt like, gosh, I might want to do something different than this, right? And so then the stars aligned. We had been working on a piece of equipment at that company to make labels. So I'm in the pressure sensitive label business. Does everybody understand what that is? Pressure sensitive meaning it's got adhesive on it. Okay, there's a lot of labels out there that don't have adhesive. We make specifically labels for the durable market. So industrial equipment. So think of lawnmowers, agriculture equipment, construction equipment. Toro's one of our largest accounts. Genie Industries, you'll see boom lifts and scissor lifts all over campus. The gray and the blue ones are Genie. The orange and the tan ones are JLG, both big customers of ours. And they are full of labels. The one thing that you'll walk out of after listening to this little diatribe from me is there's labels everywhere. Equipment has, if it can hurt you, so what I tell people, if it can hurt you, it's got lots of warning labels, safety labels, instructional labels, and branding labels on it, and that's who we call on, and we call all over the country. So, got started in the printing business. We were working on a piece of equipment at my old big company that could make a label digitally, which really couldn't happen at the time, and this is, 2003, 4, 5, in that range. And long story short, the company was actually, we had a prototype built. We had a patent application for the equipment and how to make a label that way. And the company was sold. The CEO that I was reporting to at the new company that bought us didn't share quite the same values that I did, so I thought it was time to go. So also through that acquisition, the prototype piece of equipment was just basically under a tarp in the basement of one of the plants. The company that bought us didn't have any interest in the technology, so myself and 2 other folks bought the company and started Duramark Technologies with basically a prototype piece of equipment and a patent application. And that was in November of 2007. Okay? And you guys are too young to remember November of 2007, but in December, January, February of 2008, that's when the recession hit. So it was a really bad time to start a company. And one of the questions I know in here that Rob's going to ask is challenges, right? So I'll go into more detail about that challenge, but later. But that's how the company started, and we've been in business for 18 years. We made our first acquisition last year. We bought a company that was the same size as us. We're now over a $30 million company with 130 employees. We're in the process of trying to make another acquisition. Just to go backwards a little bit, 3 years ago, I sold the company to a private equity firm out of Indianapolis. I also am still an owner in the company, so I still have interest and money in the company. So the whole thought process is, hey, let's make some acquisitions, grow this thing, and then possibly sell it again. So that's kind of the nutshell journey of where we are.
So you brought up PE, so let's talk about private equity a little bit.
You bet.
That kind of signifies that, oh, people are looking at what we're doing and are interested and see it as a good investment and something that they can leverage to grow. You want to talk about private equity a little bit?
Yeah, private equity certainly is an interesting experience. If just a show of hands is your parents, anybody out there involved with private equity has sold a company to private equity out there? Raise your hands if you know. No one? Is there one here? So if you went out and asked 10 people on the street that have dealt with private equity companies from a company selling their company to private equity, probably 8 out of the 10 would say it was a terrible experience. You know, the company takes over, they just cut costs, they just don't really have the same heart for what the owner was trying to do beforehand. They're all about the financial side of things. So I on the other hand, my experience is with the two out of the 10, it's really been a good experience. So there are private equity firms out there that are buying companies for a good management team that's in place. So they're not operators. They're looking for companies that want to buy a company that's already in pretty good shape, is on a growth trajectory, and their experience with maybe buying additional companies to help it grow to make that value grow even farther. So my experience with private equity has been very favorable, but there's a lot of times when you talk to business owners, and typically a private equity firm will make sure that you, the business owner, stays in the company for 2 years, right? Just to make sure the transition happens. And if you talk to those folks, boy, they hate it because there's just so much oversight and so much top-down kind of stuff. So private equity is a good thing, but it can also be kind of a pain from an entrepreneurial standpoint.
Yeah. So you mentioned challenges, and business ownership, or really life in general, doesn't come without challenges. So maybe walk us through some of the greatest challenges you faced, maybe mistakes, things like that.
Yeah, and I don't remember who said this, but challenges are going to happen no matter what in business and life, right? It's not about the challenge or the problem that you're having. It's about how you react to it, frankly. And I've always, kind of thought that way. Every problem has a solution. So the biggest one we faced was 6 months after we started the company. I mentioned the recession hit. So as you can imagine, I'm selling labels to manufacturers that make big equipment. Well, in a recession, nobody's making anything, right? So we started a company, and I can tell you, this is another good thing about entrepreneurship. You go through a lot of peaks and valleys as a startup company. Making an income was one of them for us because, that recession, just to survive, we actually had to lower our incomes to $25,000 a year for 3 years just to survive. And as you can imagine, with a wife and 4 kids, that's a tough one. So that challenge was our first one. We got through it. it was kind of a neat experience because we had a product and a technology that was unique to the label printing business. So as we went out and called on different companies to sell them things, we talked about our technology. They were all very interested because we could make a label a lot faster, we could make a label a lot cheaper digitally, and they didn't have to buy a lot of them. And so manufacturers love that. So all we kept hearing was, man, that's a great idea. Come back and talk to me when I'm making stuff again. So we knew we had to scratch and claw for survival, because if we could get past the recession and survive, and then those companies started buying from us, away we went. And that's exactly what happened. It took about 2.5 years, and in 2010, 11, we started growing, and we're growing ever since. So that was probably the first big challenge. And I will tell you, during that, I like to tell this story because this is an entrepreneur's life. Every day that I went to work, the first thing I did is went out to the mailbox to see if there was any checks in there from customers that we had sold to. And basically, if there were, then I could pay suppliers that I had bought stuff from. So it was literally hand to mouth, right? So it was survival. The second one, after we got over that one, was really probably COVID. That was probably the second biggest challenge that we had, just with everything shutting down. You guys lived through that in high school and whatnot, so I don't have to go into that more. But that again was another big challenge because companies just weren't making stuff. So we saw our revenue dip quite a bit, and then I was telling Rob and Steve, we're in the middle of another challenge right now. Our raw material supplier today is turned on a new ERP system to run their company in March, and since March, they've run us out of product 4 times. So you can be the best manufacturer in the world, but if your suppliers let you down, then you've got a problem with your own customers. So those are probably the 3 biggest that I've faced.
Sound familiar? Last week? With that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
You're only as good as your suppliers.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're counting on other people. So leadership. We had you take the ELI assessment, which the class will be going over Thursday and next Tuesday.
So they've got to do it too for themselves.
Yes. Yeah. So.
Do you know what do they know what they are? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So your results came out pretty even for evangelist builder. So evangelist being someone who's really good at telling the company story and kind of keeping it big picture, visionary, and then builder, building the systems, processes behind the scenes to really make the business go, which we've heard. If you think about the transition from working for someone else, you were able to turn that into a business. So I guess the first question is, how did you identify with those results?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm 65 years old. I'll be 66 next month, so I'm an old guy. I've been through so many of these assessments over my 40-year career, it's unbelievable. And this one was exactly like every other one I've taken. And it's really interesting, and I would say it was spot on, frankly. And it's interesting in a way, you know how you've got the circle and the 4 quadrants. Every assessment I've ever taken, I'm not way out on the spectrum in one of the categories, okay? And there's a lot of successful people that are, excuse me, that are, that kind of a result. My results have always been very near the center, and what the people that gave them to us said, and I believe this, the closer you are to the center, it means you can move in and out of those quadrants quite successfully. And that's, I would say that's exactly where yours put me. It was really close to the center. It was right on the line between builder and evangelist. I'm a sales guy, so evangelism is certainly an easier thing for me. But and I builder, you know, when people ask me, what's your favorite thing about business or being an entrepreneur, I just love to grow things. I like to build stuff. I like to grow them, whether it's companies or people or you name it. It's just exciting for me to grow things. And so I think your assessment was right on.
So think about that. That probably heavily contributed to you not being scared of private equity, because that would mean growth and multiplication of what you had. If an artist or a scientist comes in, they might be so attached to their product that they're scared of what someone else would do with it. Not to say you can't, but there's different ways to lead a business, to lead a team. So it's just, the reason we do this is so you get to see those differences. Nothing's good or bad, it is.
That's right.
And so you know, you have that knowledge of yourself, of the people you have around you, and you manage it the best you can. So.
Yeah, and just to add to that, kind of dovetail on it, risk taking as an entrepreneur, you have to have a risk tolerance as an entrepreneur. You have to have a pretty high risk tolerance, because I don't know what you probably know the data better than I do. Out of 100 companies that start, I don't know, 80 plus fail.
Yeah, within several years.
Yeah, and I can tell you this, I'd love to have the data from late fall 2007 of companies that started at that time that actually are still alive today. I'll bet it's a very, very small percentage. So risk tolerance and confidence in yourself, man, that is without question, those are the qualities that you got to work on.
So how would you say you lead, thinking about your style of preference, how would you say you lead your company in that regard? Like, how does it influence, and then the people you put around you too? Yeah,
I guess I would describe myself, and you've probably heard the term servant leader. I'm a pretty humble leader. I like to hire people that are smarter than me, that know a lot more than me. I think I'm a pretty good salesman, so I got that part covered, but everything else is something that you, from a leadership perspective, the neat thing about being an entrepreneur is when you first start and you really don't have any employees and you got to get people to come join you, you gotta have a little evangelism in you for people to come work with you, right? So that came naturally for me. If it doesn't come naturally for you, you need to really work on trying to get that, because another thing that we may talk about financially, when you're out looking for money, whether it be an angel investor, a bank, anybody, yes, they're looking at a business plan that you have for an idea for a company, but they're banking on you personally, not just the business plan. They're going to give you money because they believe in you and you've told them a good story and they think you've got what it takes to get it done.
Yeah, have an ear for that, because when you think about if you start something, whether it's your own business or you're a leader in a company and there's some kind of innovation project or whatever, you will have to sell, or you'll have to rely on one of your team members to sell. There is a time, though, where if you're the scientist, let's say, you're the expert in the room, where you're going to have to sell that you're trustworthy and that it's a good thing to get on your team and kind of ride your back on this venture.
I would say probably the one thing that my dad taught me about how to manage is treat people like you want to be treated. If you treat people how they want to be treated, then you're going to build a successful team.
So talk about leadership a little bit. Let's build on that, and let's talk about support systems, mentoring. What kind of a network did you tap into when you were coming up, when you were a youngster out of Ball State,
Yeah.
And beyond? what did that look like for you? What are your recommendations around that?
Yeah, I guess I was lucky there. When I was at Ball State, I was part of a fraternity, and a lot of my fraternity brothers became successful. And remember, I didn't start an entrepreneurial journey until 20 years after. So I had a business background a little bit from working with the company and met people. I would say without question, if you're going to start an entrepreneurial journey, start a company, getting a mentor that's been through it, done that, has good ideas, can help guide you is probably the biggest single indicator of whether you'll have success or not. Because you're gonna make bad decisions. You're gonna screw up. It just happens. To have a mentor really lower the number of mistakes you make is really big. And so I really tapped into my fraternity brother. I mean, I can rattle them off. Attorneys, finance people, manufacturer. I mean, right down the line, I always knew somebody that I could go to, because when you're an entrepreneur, I'll never forget this, and I think I've told every class this that I've talked to here. When I was with the big company, there was 10,000 employees, so there was a lot of people that I could turn to do stuff. When we started the company with myself and 2 other people, those 2 other people were in different parts of the country. So it was me and the manufacturing facility and a desk and nothing, right? We started with nothing, no customers, just a piece of equipment and a lot of belief that we could sell labels. And so that I tell people this, when the phone rings, the phone rang in those days, and I got somebody that would listen to me, I was like fired up, right? And yes, I'll send you some samples, I'll do this, and you hang up the phone, and then you're like, okay, who's gonna do that? Well, if you're a young entrepreneur, hang a mirror on the wall next to your desk, because when you get off the phone, you look, that's who's doing it, you. You are doing everything. And so that's a big part. A huge part of success is finding a good mentorship group.
So, and by the way, Bill has served as a mentor in our entrepreneurship major and has been on panels giving advice around financial and who do you tap into. So
Yeah.
as we offer those things over the course of the year, next year, so on, make sure you're taking advantage of those.
And I'll tell you just a quick, that's what I want to do when I retire. My plan is to retire probably in the next year and a half or so. That's all I want to do is mentor people. Most entrepreneurs are happy to help young entrepreneurs. So you just need to find them.
So you mentioned you had a kind of a values clash as the company you worked for was bought out. When you have your own business, you get to determine what the values of the company are.
Yeah.
How did that play into how you led and into this new business?
Yeah, I mean, obviously values are important in every part of your life as an individual. You guys have certain everybody's different. Everybody has different values. The one thing that we did as we started to grow in number of employees and things is we decided we wanted to have a set of values that the company really felt like was, hey, this is how we're going to treat each other. This is how we're going to treat customers. This is the company's values. And interestingly, after working in big business for 22 years and going into a lot of very large companies, it's very normal for those bigger companies that I was trying to sell product to have a mission statement and values on the wall. Very common, right? And it was also just as common, you see them, you read them, and oh, that sounds nice, and then you get to know the company, and the company doesn't operate anything like the mission or the values that are stated on the wall. So for several years when we first started the company, I really didn't want to, for those reasons, to really force a mission statement or values. But as we continued to grow, I knew it was important. So what we did is we took, gosh, I took all the management team and several of the key players, and we sat in a room for 2 days and we said, what kind of company do we want to be like? What are the things we want to do and be thought of by people outside the company, right? And we came up with values probably eight or 9 years ago, and they're on the wall. But they're on the wall and we follow them. I will say this, and it's pretty interesting. Our core values, if you went out and applied for a job right now with Duramark, the first thing you're going to see is what are the value statement. And if you share that value statement with your own values, then we're a place for you to come work. And if you don't, then we're not, and that's okay, right? Building a team and a culture at a company is by far the most important thing. I forget who says this. Culture eats strategy every day. Every day. Who said that? Drucker, yeah. Having a company culture, you see it in athletics all the time when a team that's much less talented beats a team that's way more talented. Why? Because they've just got a culture going and they trust each other and they love each other, and that makes a huge difference. So that's what we do. We put our values right out there in when we're hiring people. If someone in our company is not following those values, that's how we determine when it's time for somebody to go too. So our value statement really drives everything. And as to back that up, I usually interview for anybody that's in management. I'm the last interview with the people, and I always ask one question. The first question I ask them is, why do you want to work for us? And I'm not kidding you. Since we did the value statements, by far the number one thing is I liked and I related to your values. So it's important.
So what kind of an impact would you hope that your company, your team would have on your community, your industry, could be, however you want to frame it?
Yeah, well, gosh, in a lot of different ways. One of the neat ways is, and you stand back and think about it, we're still a pretty small company, but we started literally with 3 guys and a prototype piece of equipment. Now we're 130 employees. Just giving an opportunity for 130 people to earn a good living, work in a nice environment, share values together, that's one aspect of it. But we also get very involved in community things. We have really 2 different things that we do. And probably the neatest one is a company called Samaritan's Feet. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but Samaritan's Feet is a guy out of North Carolina that wanted to distribute 10 million pair of shoes to kids all over the world. And so we got very involved with Samaritan's Feet. So we do distribution. In fact, we've got one coming up. So we try and get the entire company. So we basically shut half the company down. Half the company goes and does these shoe distributions in Indianapolis while the other half's working for 3 or 4 hours, and then the other half goes. And to actually get your employees involved in those kind of community things, what did we just talk about? Values, culture. It just helps to bond everybody together. So we get very involved in trying to tie the employee base with community give back kind of stuff.
That's really neat. This question, I always feel like kind of a fraud asking it, but the students are curious. I think people who aren't involved in entrepreneurship are curious, but how do you balance work and life? Do you?
Yeah. Well, I had a really good role model in my dad. Really good role model. So To me, family, I said that I had 4 kids. The oldest is 33, the youngest is 21, is a senior at Purdue. I always knew that family was more important than work. Back to the mentor, get a mentor to help you. That mentor will also help you when you get off track a little bit. Because being an entrepreneur, first of all, it's hard to spell and hard to say, isn't it? But when you become one, you work harder than most other people, most of your peers. Owning your own business is hard. It just is, and you got to put a lot of time into it. But from a guy that spent 20 plus years with big business and now 18 years running my own business, I wouldn't trade entrepreneurship for anything else. I loved this too, and it was a great experience, but when you build something and you did it, it's so much different than, hey, I'm just working for somebody. It's just not even comparable.
And over the course of the semester, you're going to get a lot of different answers on that question, but
Yeah.
I think the one common thread will be it's challenging.
Oh yeah.
And,
Yes.
And it's really how do you set boundaries, but they bleed together tremendously because the family's identity is at least partially the business, right?
For sure. My wife and kids, when we first got into our first building, we were the janitorial service every week. The kids and my wife and I would go in and clean the building. All my kids worked at the company, and they all have great stories about about working. It's fun. We'll be on a trip and we'll be driving down the road and a semi will come by with a bunch of equipment on it and they're like, "Dad, there's a genie lift." So they remember making the labels that are on the lifts. And so yeah, as long as you stay grounded and you know that family is the most important thing, it's hard, but you can do it.
Yeah. So I think you have a unique perspective on this because you're really in the early stages of private equity. You've stayed on with the company, which doesn't always happen long term. Sometimes you're just there as let's just make sure the transition's smooth.
Yep.
Interestingly, I love golf, and a really popular, trendy putter brand just sold out to private equity, Lab Putters out of Oregon. And it's been interesting to watch their journey, and let's see if the company's values and everything stays the same. We'll see. I think so far it seems like they picked a firm like you did.
That's good.
But what do you see for yourself, your family, for the future of the company? What's your future vision going out, say 5, 10, 7 years?
Yeah. Well, I mentioned that we're actually, I just went up to Minneapolis and visited a company we want to buy last week. So we want to do another acquisition at least. That would be our second acquisition. Our goal is to, grow the value of the company. And this private equity firm that I sold to is, like I said, unique. They're not the Wall Street, grizzly guys that are just trying to make a buck, right? They're trying to help grow value in a leadership team and a founder that wants to continue to grow. Obviously, at 66, I don't want to work for another 10 years. So my plan, the company's plan, is to keep growing and make another acquisition or so. We'll probably consider selling the business in the next 3 years, or I'll get out and they'll keep going. The neat thing about this private equity firm is they've held companies for 3 years. Typical private equity is 5 years. They want to hold them for 5 years and then sell them. This company is held company. They've done 22 acquisitions, I think. And the shortest period of time was 3 years hold, and the longest was 20. So they're not afraid to hold a company either.
So a couple of things off of that. One, if you're curious how private equity can look really ugly, talk about 2 very large companies that entered into a private equity deal a few years ago, and the company had a great culture, Southwest Airlines, great culture, and Elliott Capital. Look it up, Elliott Capital, Southwest Airlines. There will be no shortage of negative headlines associated with this deal.
Yeah.
So it is something, you could say, oh, this doesn't pertain to me today. Well, 10, 15, 20, 25 years from now, it might. And it's all about the research and just feeling good about and the contracts too, I'm sure.
Yeah, you got to find, private equity firms are pretty forthright in telling you what their motto is and what they like to do. They're out there, hey, we keep people 5 to 7 years and then we sell them. And they tell you that. That's what they're doing. So you're signing up for that. The one that I went for was more of they call it a family office. That you'll hear that term if you start researching it. And the family office is much more of a, hey, we're buying good leadership teams that with a company that can grow and we can add some expertise to. But they're not in my business every day at all. At all. We meet once a month. We have quarterly board meetings, but they're counting on myself and our team, our leadership team, to run and grow the business, which is what I wanted to do.
And you're also able to research their past deals, too.
That's right.
To see what their track record is.
Yep.
So you talked about acquisitions. You've had one. You're looking at another one. Talk about the culture is so important. And now you have two cultures colliding. You have two cultures coming together. How do you look at that? How do you manage that process? Yeah,
it's really interesting. Our first acquisition was a year ago, August, and we're still integrating the company. So this company was a 70-year-old company started by a guy's dad who's passed away. Now the owner, the son, who's swept the floors as a kid, blah, blah, blah. And there's like 8 to 10 other family members in the company. And we knew it was going to be a challenge. And we felt like we could handle the challenge. And I could write a book. In fact, if you want to do a class on it's a reality show. It's like a reality show. In fact, this past week, one of the family members didn't like something and she walked out and said, I quit. And we were really happy about it. So it is a challenge to integrate companies. Thankfully, the majority of the people at that company and our values were pretty close. So that part of it has been good. And there's a lot of good people there, but boy, getting through the family stuff is tough. But again, I've got a really good leadership team they've worked for other large companies and they've been around the block, so they've seen this kind of stuff, which helps too.
Yeah, and it's a matter of finding what's most important to both organizations, where is their common ground. I remember in our research for our Disney book, they talked about when they built Animal Kingdom Park, which was what I would call the most unique theme park in the world. It's a zoo and a theme park. They were essentially merging the zoo and aquarium industry with their culture, which is extremely strong at that time. And one of the things they learned very quickly was how important the integrity of the animals was to the zookeepers, the people who they were going to be bringing in as team members. And so they had to really honor that. And it sounds like common sense, but they're thinking business. Mm-hmm. So I can imagine the challenges, especially when you throw family into it.
Oh my gosh, so, yeah, I could write a book.
Yeah, which from an entry standpoint, we've talked about that in this class, is family business has its incredible strengths, but it also has its incredible challenges. So,
yep.
So just to bring this plane down here, what is the best advice? What's the one thing you would want to say to aspiring entrepreneurs, leaders in the room and beyond on video as they step out into the world here in the next few years?
Yeah, and Rob, I asked Rob what the class was made up of, right? And I know there's probably some people, show of hands, is there anybody in here that's thinking, gosh, I might want to start my own business one day? Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. So probably and I already kind of said it, the biggest thing would be as you develop your idea and want to bring it to life, find a mentor. They're out there, you can find them. Don't try and go it alone. And probably the other thing I would say is take a chance, take a risk on yourself, right? Do it. Do it when you're young, right? I decided to get out of a senior level position with a $1 billion company with a family of 4, a wife, 2 dogs, a big mortgage. That's a lot more risk. You can go out right now and start a company and see if entrepreneurship is for you. And so that would be it for me. I would say find a mentor, find somebody that wants to help you through it and shepherd you through some of the things you won't know what to do and not do. But get out and try it. Get out and trust yourself and get out and try it. That's what I would today. That's what I say.
And there's ways to mitigate risk too.
Absolutely.
You put talented people around you. Mm-hmm. And I think Lothay brought this up last week, but just developing some financial literacy, so you understand the money in, the money out, the things that can happen.
Yeah. Well, know what you're good at. I mean, self-awareness to me is a huge asset for people. You hear it all the time, well, that person's not very self-aware, right? You probably have friends that aren't self-aware, like you're a jerk and you don't realize it. Self-awareness of what your strengths and weaknesses are is huge for entrepreneurial journey, right? So I was not strong in finance at all. I was strong in selling, evangelizing, like the thing said. So I knew I needed people way stronger around me in those different areas that you have to. And in fact, I told my sons and daughters, go to school in finance, because no matter what you do, you're going to use finance. But none of them did it. So it's hard. Like, you want to do things in school that you like. But boy, if you get out and you know that there's certain things you're good at and certain things you're not, find people to work with you that, in those areas that you're not very strong.
So keep that in mind, Thursday, Tuesday, as we self-discover, discover about others, and then when we do the BP10 down the road here in the next month. So yeah. It is important. It's one, and that's why I really emphasize it in all of my classes, but especially this one, is just self-discovery. So
yeah.
It's just so important.
Self-awareness is probably one of those personal skills that are the most important thing you can have, because then you can pivot and do things and find people that can be around you. There was a ton of hands that went up for, hey, I want to start my own business. So I will tell you, the first thing you could do is decide to be a part of the entrepreneurial school here. That would be a great first step. The tradition here goes back to, the school didn't exist when I graduated. So I think it started in 1983, but it's a great school. There's obviously, Rob's a great teacher and leader of the entrepreneurial program here, but it's a neat, challenging experience. So if you're thinking about, maybe that's something I want to do, then jump in.
Yeah, we were talking about this before the class, but one of your projects in this class will be a new venture ideation project. So you're going to walk through a creative problem-solving process. You're going to find a problem that you want to work on. You're going to work your way through this process. And our next course in our program, if you're not sure, take it. It's a 3 credit-hour class. It will change your life, number one. So it's ENT 341, ENT 341. And we were just talking about how we almost tripled our enrollment just from last semester's class, hearing about what we're doing with our students. So keep that in mind as we move along here, because it could change the trajectory of your life.
Absolutely.
So just food for thought there. you queued me up there. So
Yeah,
I had to
absolutely.
take it. Anything else you'd like to share?
No, I'd love, if we have time, I'd love, how long do we got?
We have until a quarter after.
Oh, sweet. Just questions. Happy to answer any questions.
So before we do questions, I got
Yep.
in trouble last week because
Oh.
I forgot this. We're gonna do but this is a challenge for us, but we're gonna do a selfie with you in the background, okay? So bear with us while we sort through this and we stumble around with our phones for a minute. And then we'll do Q&A, okay?
Sure. I got a phone.
We'll do both.
Sure.
See, we're already struggling.
Look at
There we
that.
go.
I'm ready.
You ready? All right.
I'm ready. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Exactly.
Oh, jeez.
Told you.
We'll get this.
We'll get it. We're gonna make it.
I know. I'll hold the camera and you hit. yeah.
Okay. It's a team effort here. All right. How?
Let me get my hand out
Yeah.
of there.
Oh, there we go. There we go. All right. We got
there
this. All right. 1, 3. Okay.
There we go.
And then I'll do one with mine real quick.
Yep.
Oh, we got to turn it around there. There we go. All right. 1, 3. Okay.
He forgot too.
I do that on purpose. That's a trick from a photographer. Okay. So questions. Okay.
An A in the class for the first question.
No barbecue sauce today. Sorry.
So, assuming you start an LLC, what would you say would be the best way to get your initial funding?
Well, I can tell you how I did it, and we were actually an LLC to start. Now we're an Inc. I had gone to some angel investors in Indianapolis and worked through kind of the business plan. They were excited, we were excited. Then I found out that they wanted to keep 85% of the company and only allow me to keep 15% of the company. So that relationship fell apart pretty quickly. And I walked in, I remember I was coaching basketball for my son, and the guy that I was coaching with was with a banker with Chase. And I walked into the practice, and I'm like, you're not going to believe this. The guy just walked on me. You know, I quit my job thinking we had a deal here to start a new company, and now I have zero money. And he goes, you know enough people, just go ask people. Just go out, talk to friends, talk to family, and raise the money yourself. And I can tell you, I'm sitting here today with a company that's worth a lot more money now than I would have been had that angel thing gone through. I wouldn't have owned much of the company. My dad was my first investor. My brother jumped on. And again, I cannot emphasize this enough. Your business plan has to be solid, but you got to believe in it and you've got to sell it to people for them to give you money. So that's important. But that's where you go. You go to friends. Banks will not lend you money. Angel investors might lend you money, but they're going to take 80 pounds of your flesh, right? So friends, family, people like that is a really nice place to start.
Yeah. Anyone you can prove yourself to.
That's right.
Could be an employer even.
Yeah.
So. Okay, questions?
Come on, there was a lot of I want to start a business hands.
Be shy.
I'm counting on you guys, yeah.
Okay.
Here's one up here, Rob, too.
Okay. Who was that? I'll do that next.
We'll get you.
I thought you were telling us money up.
Now you have to have a question.
All right, so the business I want to do is basically a nonprofit organization that obviously nonprofits focus on the community, but I want to take it to on a larger scale, and that just really reaches all aspects.
Cool. My wife and I started a nonprofit too, called the O'Connor House. It's for homeless pregnant women, and it's funny. We started that 20 years ago, and it's still going. So your question is, how to try and get funding for that?
Yep.
Yeah. I can tell you from experience with that organization that it was, once again, it was just people in your sphere, right? People that share the same values and have a passion for whatever your philanthropy is. They'll give you money. We've raised probably for the O'Connor House over 20 years easily $10 million. So it's out there. There's a lot of grants and things from large corporations that you can apply for too that we've done. So that's great. Yeah.
I was just going to ask, how did you go about finding a reliable mentor, and do you have any tips for how to do so?
Yeah, that's a great question. How do you find a reliable mentor? Well, the first thing you can do is talk to this guy. Because guys like me, I sit on the Ball State Entrepreneurial Advisory Board. So there's a lot of people that have gone through the tough part of building a company that are excited to help people do it, right? There's a lot of them out there. So you just got to go through those kind of avenues. You can talk to, people in the finance world. If you know bankers and so forth, you can even talk to them. Hey, I'm thinking about starting a business. Do you know any mentor? Just ask. They're out there in every city, all over the place. You just gotta ask. You just gotta go find them. But because Ball State has an entrepreneurial school, that's probably a really good place to start.
And it may not start out formal.
That's right.
It may start out with, hey, let's meet for coffee.
Yeah.
Ask you. And then it grows over time.
Yeah, one of the kids that I was a judge at E-Day for, I've kept a relationship with until she said, you know what, I've just decided not to start the company. But I was helping her through with her financials and questions she had just for the heck of it.
All right, questions, okay.
In your time here, what fraternity were you in?
I am a Sigma Chi. Any Sigma Chi's in the room? Huh? None? What fraternity are you in? Oh, that's okay.
Just okay.
Well, for the whole fraternity thing, it's amazing. It's like this, right? Some fraternities that were around when I was here aren't even on campus anymore. So it's great to see the SIG. I actually know the gentleman Chuck Lazara that was on the housing committee that built your house. There's a lot of great houses that have stood the test of time.
And his son is a graduate of our
That's
program.
right. That's right.
Questions? All right,
There's one. You're gonna get your steps in, Rob.
good. I need them.
You said you're very big on your core values. I just wanted to know what they were for your company.
I'm gonna send Rob a copy of our core values, and he can send them to your whole group.
Awesome.
The two biggest ones: treat people. You heard me say it. Treat people the way you want to be treated. And then another one that we have, and it's written all over the walls in our company: give the customer the best experience possible. Treat customers the best you can. But there's a lot of bullet points under all of our core values, and I'll send them to Rob so that he can pass them out to everybody. Or you can go on our website, www.duramarktechnologies.com. It's right there on the website, or if you ever are applying for a job, you can see them there too.
Awesome, thank you. Questions?
Did you eat all those? Did you eat all those Cheetos? Okay.
Who are your main buyers, and how did you get a relationship with them?
Yeah, so again, we call on anyone that's building an industrial piece of equipment. So every company out there typically has a purchasing department, and that's where all of the buying happens. And in most of these companies, they have a big purchasing department, and then there are people that have different commodities that they buy. Like you might have, take Toro and take Genie, our two largest customers. They have 20 buyers, and some might be buying nothing but steel and nothing but hydraulics, nothing but nuts and bolts and blah, blah, blah. Labels and any kind of packaging is usually handled by one person or two people at these companies. And it's like anything else, you just got to bang on them and convince them that your product's better. And I can tell you it was a lot easier when I started selling than it is now. When I started selling, you got a territory and away you went, and you just drove all day stopping in companies, and every company you could walk right in the door and there'd be a reception person there, and you could ask for a purchasing person and they'd give you the name, and you might be able to even sit down with them right then. That's how it was for me when I started in sales. Today, you can't walk in any door. They don't want to publish who the purchasing people are. You've got to dig for it. You've got to network. It's a lot different now, but that's basically how it works. Here's one.
Oh,
Where do you draw the line at mentorship and like a business partner? Like, what do you expect from them? And like, I feel like it would just be awkward because like, do you pay them?
Great question. I'm going to let Rob answer part of this question, but I would tell you there's probably folks out there that do expect, I want an equity position, or if I'm going to spend time. I think there'd be an awful lot of them out there like me that would just want to do it for fun. When I was in high school and decided what I wanted to do, blah, 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 I always thought I wanted to be a coach and a teacher. So teaching is kind of part of what I like to do. So maybe that comes more natural for me. But that's not what I went to school for. I started at Ball State as an architecture student, joined a fraternity, and quickly I found that I wanted to have more fun than I wanted to spend time in the architecture building. Any architect majors in here? There you go. Guys in my fraternity that were in architecture had a cot in the architecture building and slept many nights there. I don't know if it's the same way now, but I quickly pivoted and thought, oh gosh, now what do I want to do? Oh, maybe accounting. No, not accounting. I didn't want any part of accounting, so I landed in marketing.
marketing evangelist makes sense.
Yeah, but yeah, you go ahead. You probably
So
know.
that's a great question. Most people want to pay it forward. Someone invested in them. Plus, it's just have you ever invested in someone like a little kid or somebody, a friend they just needed someone to listen. So I think you'll find more people are willing to invest in people in that way. I think your question, correct me if I'm wrong, was getting more at like what's the difference between a consultant that's really digging in and helping you with your business on more of a paid. I think it usually is pretty obvious in those situations, but there are lots of people who just want to give back and they want to pay it forward to someone they were invested in, and it's a good feeling for people to help someone else, and it's also a way to, it's kind of redemption too. You make some mistakes, and so you want to help someone maybe not make the same mistakes.
Yeah, and if it's anything like us, I mean, when you're an entrepreneur, you don't have a lot of extra money. So you want to try and find the free resources first. And you can, your parents probably have friends in different disciplines. Your friends' parents. I mean, we didn't really talk about networking, right? But networking as you guys, I don't know, there's all ages in here, right? Freshmen all the way up. So the farther up or the closer you are to out finding a job, you better have been in the networking game. If you're a freshman, learn the network. You want to get involved in clubs. You want to get involved in fraternities or sororities. You want to get involved in business groups. Networking is absolutely one of the most important things you can do as a college student. I never thought of networking one time as a college student. Not one time. I was here like you guys and probably not thinking about that. But now looking back, advice, get involved, because your network, your sphere of friends, as it grows, whether you become an entrepreneur or not, it will help you.
I think that's really important because we have all kinds of things going on this campus. We have guest speaker panels. We have dialogue days coming up next month for the College of Business. Everyone's welcome to that. That's where alumni come in and they're on speaker panels. You can get to meet those people.
Yep.
You can tap into their network. You can tap into your faculty members' network. You know, it takes time and trust, but you can do it. So just keep that in mind. You may say, well, I don't know, or I don't.
Yeah.
There's always opportunities to tap into other people and to build your personal network. It's going to look different for each person.
Yeah, and I think I would tell you that it's easy to find people. You know, and you may go, oh, that doesn't make sense. It is if you're forward enough and confident enough to just be asking people. That's the key. You know, a lot of times you may not feel like, oh gosh, I want to go ask this person or that person. Hey, just do it, and you'll find people to help you that you won't have to pay.
So while we're on this, so pretty much after every class session, they turn in an index card with their 3 key insights and 1 golden nugget.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to shift from is regurgitation to, I'll give you an example because I just thought of it when you were talking, is this made me realize I do have a network around me and I just need to tap into it. That's an insight.
Yep.
Or golden nugget. So that's the difference, okay? It's what does it trigger here for you to make life changes or to advance yourself, grow, develop. That's what we're after. I want you to come out of this class a different person than you were when you came in.
Yeah.
For your own benefit.
Yeah. Step out a little bit. It's hard. You know, the younger you are, it's hard, but now I look back and go, gosh, I wish I would have got more involved in college. Not just the fraternity, but just in more stuff. And that's how you grow your network.
Yeah, it's not some mean assignment, or it's really to help
Right.
you process your learning,
Yeah.
your takeaways. Other questions? We have time for maybe 1 or 2 more? Yep.
When you started your business, it was, like you said, a digital printing. Now that we're in more of a digital age, what makes you stand out from your competitors?
Yeah, great question. Really good question. So we literally were the only company focused on making durable labels digitally 18 years ago. Now there's a lot of printers out there that have digital equipment. We're also different in how we sell, I would tell you, that makes us stand out. But I'd also say our acquisitions now, we have acquired the other kinds of print technologies so we can make a durable label now in any way, shape, or form. But digital, the reason we were kind of unique in digital was digital allows you to make a label very fast, right? Literally, I could take any of your pictures right now. I could send it, email it to my art team. They would put the design in the cloud. The guy on our digital press could pull it down, and I could make a label that would last outdoors for 10 years with your picture on it in less than 30 minutes. That was unheard of 18 years ago, right? Now there's more of it. But we also sell a little bit differently, I would tell you, in that we don't have a sales team out there looking for orders. We're looking for a customer to do all their business. So we go to market a little bit differently, which maybe slows our success rate down because we're not just looking for one order. we're looking for you and your company to give us all your business, and that's how we want to grow. And that's how we keep customers for a long time, too.
Think about the importance of legal ramifications. I mean, that's why those labels are on the equipment.
That's right.
And it goes all the way down the value chain, rental companies, I'm sure, who are refurbing and all
Yeah,
those.
yeah.
So we talk about this a lot on our program, and I think Bill will understand what I'm saying here, but every business is not like super attractive.
No, I
Or
say
the
it,
business is
it's not
good.
a label. Making labels isn't very sexy.
And so, but I think we get caught in this trap a lot.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
students do of, oh, it has to be some crazy tech or, there are a lot of, we call them boring businesses out there that do really well and solve the world's problems.
Yeah, I started with a big company, right? And when you're in a big company, all you think about is, well, big companies rule the world, right? It's, gosh, you got to be with a big company. Now being a small company and seeing how many, I don't know what, the GDP is like 80% small businesses, not big businesses. I don't know if that's the exact number, but it's somewhere in there. It's not the Fortune 500 that drive this country. It's small business.
For sure. It also drives kind of the culture of our
Yeah,
country, too.
and small business is a lot more fun. Take it from somebody that's been on both.
Yeah.
You make your own decisions. You do what you want to do. You can pivot quickly.
Well, when we're thinking about career path too, even if you're not going to own your own business, you don't always have to think large. There are plenty of small and medium-sized companies that can provide a very good career and living.
Yeah.
So I want to say thank you to the group here. You all, the first two speakers, have been great, very respectful, and thank you to Bill.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Hey, who thinks they have the best insight? One of your three insight. Who's got the best one? I want to hear it.